Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time and welcome to this important episode. Folks, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, spoke today and he said some things that are very important as far as our country, as far as the economy, and as far as your money is concerned. You come to my channel for breaking news and for news that is important to your future. So let's just jump right in. On your screen, you'll see a tweet from Heather Long from the Washington Post. And Heather quotes Chairman Jerome Powell, who said the pandemic has led to the largest 12-month decline in labor force participation rate since at least 1948. Folks, here's what this means. This means that people are dropping out of the workforce. By the way, this is affecting women, specifically mothers amongst the subcategory of women. This is affecting women more than it's affecting men. People are dropping out of the workforce. I'm not talking about unemployed. I'm talking about individuals who now have to drop out of the workforce for a variety of reasons. One reason could be they have to take care of their children because schools are closed. Another reason is they may have to be caretakers to other individuals. There could be a whole bunch of reasons why people drop out of the workforce. This is the biggest decrease in the labor force participation rate since 1948, according to Chairman Jerome Powell. And here's another tweet also from Heather Long, where she points out that the Federal Reserve Chairman said that the real unemployment rate right now is close to 10%, which is the same level as the worst point of the Great Recession about 12 years ago. So things are much worse than they seem to be, but then you already knew this. Individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality have been impacted the most. Many of us just want to put food on the table, want to keep the lights on, want to be able to make rent, and the real unemployment rate is close to 10% of the working population. Powell also said we are still very far from a strong labor market whose benefits are broadly shared. These are brand new comments from Chairman Jerome Powell today. And so, folks, what does all this mean? This means that the Federal Reserve will not raise interest rates. Now, I'll show you a headline of an article on your screen from CNBC. And the headline of the article reads, Fed Chair Powell citing bleak jobs picture says policy will need to stay patiently accommodative. What that basically means is the Federal Reserve will keep interest rates low. In other words, it's going to cost less to borrow money. Whether you're borrowing money for a new home, whether you're borrowing money for something else, it should now cost less to borrow money, which should hopefully stimulate the economy. But as soon as the unemployment rate improves, as soon as we start to recover from the pandemic, you can expect interest rates to start going back up again. So Chairman Jerome Powell also said that the US is a long way from where it needs to be in terms of full employment. Let's take a look at a quote from Chairman Powell. He said, fully realizing the benefits of a strong labor market, and by the way, I'll break this down for you and tell you exactly what it means, but he said it will take continued support from both near-term policy and longer run investments so that all those seeking jobs have the skills and the opportunities that will enable them to contribute to and share in the benefits of prosperity. Okay, here's what that means. It means that we need to do things in the short term and we need to do things in the long term so that people can get jobs, so that people can try to have a shot at the American dream. And folks, this is why I think the American Rescue Plan, the whopping $1.9 trillion plan from President Biden, there he is. Hello, President Biden, is super important for this initial recovery so that people can get back on their feet, because this whole thing has gone on much longer than we anticipated. When the first version of the CARES Act was passed, we didn't know that it would drag out this long. That's why those benefits only lasted till July. And then because of the election coming up, because of all the politics, because of all the back and forth and the indecisiveness from the concerned parties, we didn't have a stimulus until the very last second, as you probably know. And now that we have a new administration, I believe the long-term solution will be the Build Back Better agenda from the Biden administration. It's going to be expensive, but it's going to help create new jobs, because we're going to need labor, we're going to need manpower for new roads, new bridges, hopefully new green energy jobs, because some jobs are going to be lost as we transition from certain types of energy production capacities over to a new green energy world, which the Biden administration is pushing. So basically what Chairman Jerome Powell is saying is we need to do things both short term and long term to be able to make our way out of this. So folks, what is the Fed doing? The Fed is keeping its benchmark rate close to zero and is buying $120 billion of bonds each month. Basically, the Fed is propping up the markets and saying, hey, I'm there as a buyer. Don't you worry, I'll be there to buy bonds. Let's keep liquidity in the market so that money can keep flowing and the money doesn't sort of just seize up You want to be able to go to a bank and withdraw money, don't you? I mean, yeah, I get it. Most of us don't have much money in the bank, but this is an example to illustrate the importance of liquidity, being able to access money and to be able to use it to do things that we need to do on a daily basis. And folks, now in case you're wondering, hey, I can't borrow money at 0%, that's because this 0% rate is the rate at which banks can borrow from each other. Now, the banks, in order to make money from you, will lend money to you at 2%, 3%, 4%, or any higher percentage that they designate, depending on whatever product you use, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a car loan, whether it's a credit card, whether it's a personal loan, whether it's a business loan. The bank will then decide to charge you an interest, because that is how banks make money, through interest charges and through different kinds of administrative fees. And folks, the one thing that Chairman Powell said that really stuck with me is that we all need to play a role in this. This isn't just the government trying to come up with a solution. We all have to play our part in helping each other get out of this horrific crisis. Here's a headline on your screen from Bloomberg that reads, Powell urges society-wide push to deliver full employment. Let's take a look at this chart on your screen, folks, from the Bloomberg article. By the way, I'll provide you with a link to the article in the description section below, so definitely check it out. Weakening recovery. The US economy added only 49,000 jobs in January after December was revised lower. Take a look at the chart on your screen. You'll see how well the economy was doing, and then we had a dip that basically wiped out over a decade of job gains just like that. We are starting to recover, but we are nowhere back to where we were prior to the pandemic. If you look at where we are right now, we still have a long way to go. And the most alarming portion is the portion on the right side of the graph where you see the tapering off of the recovery. Let's actually show you, let's emphasize that section right next to the number 142 million, where you can see that the recovery of jobs is actually tapering now. In other words, it needs to go back to where it was prior to the pandemic, which is that point right at the top before the big dip at the start of the year last year. We are still a long way away from that, but the dangerous thing is, instead of continuing to go up, it started to taper right there, which is the alarming part. And this, everybody, is why Chairman Jerome Powell said this. He said, we are still very far from a strong labor market whose benefits are broadly shared. Achieving and sustaining maximum employment will require more than supportive monetary policy. It may require the private sector to get involved. It may require all of us to help our fellow Americans. It may require businesses to try and get back on their feet, and they can get back on their feet when consumers start to buy. So we all have a role to play in the recovery of the American economy. And folks, speaking of the recovery of the American economy,
given the number of people who have lost their jobs and the likelihood that some will struggle to find work in the post-pandemic economy, achieving and sustaining maximum employment will require more than supportive monetary policy. It will require a society-wide commitment with contributions from across government and the private sector. The potential benefits of investing in our nation's workforce are immense. Steady employment provides more than a regular paycheck. It also bestows a sense of purpose, improves mental health, increases lifespans, and benefits workers and their families. I'm confident that with our collective efforts across the government and the private sector, our nation will make sustained progress toward our national goal of maximum employment.
Here's a tweet on your screen from Eli Stockholz, who's a White House reporter for LA Times. And Eli reported that for a month now, the Biden administration has hammered its point that the risk of its $1.9 trillion rescue plan is that it might be too small. The economy still needs help, folks, specifically those amongst us who've been impacted the most. You have heard me talk about the cycle of poverty before. Here's a cycle of poverty on your screen. Many of our fellow Americans are stuck in the cycle of poverty and simply cannot get out of the cycle of poverty. This recovery is a K-shaped recovery. Let's show you the K on your screen. Individuals at the top of the K are doing just fine. Individuals at the bottom of the K in many cases have lost their jobs permanently. And there's been no real effort, Eli points out, from the Republican Party to counter the effort that it might be too small. 8 in 10 Americans agree with President Biden. Let's show you this chart on your screen from CBS News that shows that 40% think that the economic relief package is not enough. 39% think it's about right. So 8 out of 10 of our fellow Americans actually think that this package is either not enough or just right. 20% think that it's too much. Pretty incredible, folks, pretty incredible. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Please click like, please click subscribe, please enable notifications. That would mean a lot to me personally. That would bring a smile to my face like this. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.